Alrighty, so let's just, I'll get my brick. So we're going to start tonight on the ground with our bolsters and just get into the breath, and also let pelvic organs just drop away from pelvic floor. So if you get your prop and place it right underneath your pelvis so that it's really comfortable. But what we're looking for is for the top of the pelvis to be almost off your prop, so that you get a little bit of a stretch on the underside of your back here. Sorry, not the underside, the back of your pelvis and into your back, this lumbar area here. And a nice pressing stretch through the shoulders, chin in, a nice elongated cervical spine. And feet can just be underneath your knees, and turn the palms up like so that you open and broaden the chest. And then just close the eyes and start to focus on relaxing all of those little muscles around your eyes. Give your lower jaw a wriggle. And then start to focus on your breath. And as you exhale, imagine you have little screws, and they are just unwinding the upper jaw away from the lower jaw. So as you exhale, just feeling those screws turning one more time, just releasing that jaw until it becomes really heavy and the tongue becomes heavy in the mouth. And then just start to elongate your breath. And we're going to start to bring the breath right down into the bottom of the lungs and right up underneath the armpits here, and then up towards the chest. So see if you can move away from just chest breathing and just belly breathing, and start to use these intercostal muscles between the ribs. And moving into a 4-3-5 combination breath. So that basically means breathe in for 4 beats. See if you can breathe in through your nostrils. Hold that inhalation for 3 beats. And then slowly breathe out over 5 beats. And really press all the air out of your lungs, bringing the base of the ribcage slightly in. And then again, full breath in. Hold that lovely full breath just for a few beats, and then a slow squeezing as if you're closing that big accordion, pressing it shut, and then pulling it open. Good. So with that nice rhythm of your breath, see if now you can focus on the whole pelvic area. So I call this 360 breathing, when we allow both the inhale and the exhale to sort of drop down around from tummy button downwards. So down into the lower belly, down into the pelvic floor, into the hips, into the buttocks, and everything just kind of relaxes. So you're sending, you're not blowing downwards, you don't put any pressure downwards, you're just kind of allowing this whole area to relax. Now, if it feels okay for you and you're not too tight through these hip flexors, feet together, knees out. If that just feels a bit too pinchy, then take your feet back onto the ground. This is just a nice one as well. So this also gets a psoas stretch. This just goes a little bit deeper, knees out, toes together. And we're filling this whole balloon-like area right down into the pelvic floor, lower belly. This is what's called down training, where we're letting the muscle fibers around the pelvis that for many, many women hold a lot of tension. We're just letting them soften, release, open, full, slow, connected breathing. You might even want to put your hands just onto the lower belly actually, and just allow the belly to rise and fall. Bringing that breath right down, bottom, right down into the bottom, into the pelvic floor, right out to the sides, into the bottom part of your lungs. And just noticing the forehead starting to soften as well. When we soften the forehead, we tend to also allow the jaw to soften even more, and that response, that relaxation through the jaw, directly relates to how much tension we hold in the pelvic floor muscles. So consciously relax here, relax all around your face, but specifically here, and then also down into that pelvic floor area. And then just letting go of that 4-3-5 combination breath. And taking your feet, if you've taken them back to side, take them back like so. And I'm going to get you just to gently start to activate the pelvic floor muscles and then zipping right up towards your tummy button. So we breathe in and everything's very relaxed, that 360 breath right down. And as we breathe out, it's like we're gathering everything inwards and then zipping upwards towards tummy button. And our waist comes in, our belly goes down, our back kind of comes upwards. And then we relax and everything softens. So it's an exhale to gather the four corners of the pelvic floor muscles and zip upwards. And then it's an inhale just to let the pelvic floor receive the breath and that whole 360 relaxation. So exhaling, gathering in and lifting, inhaling, expanding, exhaling, hugging in, lifting up, and softening as you breathe in. So just doing a few more of these so we can start to get that synergistic activation of first the pelvic floor muscles, and then we're zipping right up through the cervix towards tummy button. Core muscles come on after pelvic floor muscles, and then everything relaxes. And then see if you can do it a little bit faster, zipping up, releasing. And if you want to, breathe out through your mouth for these ones, and just purse your lips, breathing out through an imaginary straw, and releasing. Good. And it's really nice just to notice, not really nice, it's interesting to notice whether as you do your quick zip up, whether you feel it mainly through the anus, through the back of the pelvic floor muscles, or maybe through the vagina more, through the front, or not at all. And if there's nothing happening at all, don't worry. Just keep working with your breath and with the visualization of the four corners, the pure bone, tailbone, sitting bones, drawing inwards, zipping up, and then releasing down. And over time, those neural pathways will start to get deeper, and you will start to activate those muscles, and they can just get stronger and stronger, just like any other muscle group in the body. Good. And then release that. Take your left knee in towards your chest. Stretch the other arm, the foot out. Take the arm above the head. Lengthen the body. Really pull toes and fingers away from each other. So we get that lovely stretch through the psoas muscles, these hip flexors that drop into the lower back. And if you have been doing lots of sitting, lots of working at your desk, what we're trying to do is the opposite of sitting. Just stretch all of this area out and leave the lower back. And then the other way, nice big stretch out. Oh, this feels good. And then taking the toes in, we'll stay on the bolster for the moment. If it's uncomfortable, you can come off, but try, if it's okay, try and stay on. We're going to take the toes together, knees out, to coming into like a butterfly or like a frog leg pose. Knees out, gently pressing down through the inside of your legs, hands on your shins. Good. So we want to now release these inner thigh muscles, the adductor muscles. They go straight into those pelvic floor muscles. And especially when we're doing muscle sitting, they get tight as well, as do the hamstrings. So let's go into those hamstrings now. Push the feet up towards the ceiling. Now, first of all, before we go into the hamstrings, roll your ankles around. Get that nice mobilization through the ankles. And you can do the same thing with your wrists. Big circles around one direction and then the other. Now, to keep ankles and wrists nice and functional, we really should be doing this kind of movement every day. And you're probably noticing already, after about 10 circles, it gets quite hard. So you can go for a bit more, go back in the first direction again. See, it gets a little bit harder. And then the other direction. So if you're finding this really hard, I want you to start to try and do this as a daily practice. You can do it in bed before you get out of bed. Just start to roll the ankles. It's also really good for vascular flow through the legs. Beautiful. Pull those toes back, pushing the heels away from you, and then squeeze your toes as hard as you can, and then pull the toes back, and then squeeze your toes, and then pull them back. Keep pushing the heels up towards the ceiling. Rub the back of your legs. Now push the back of your pelvis into your bolster or into your pillows. So rather than allowing yourself to come all the way like so, push your bottom backwards. So if we were standing up, we'd be sticking our bums behind us, and just rub the back of your legs here. Give them a bit of warmth into those hamstrings, especially just above the knees, at the insertion point of those hamstrings, and then go down towards your bottom, so the top part of those hamstrings. And then turn your toes out, heels together, rub the outside of your legs. So look, I've got a handy strip down the side of my leggings, so you can see that the nervy kind of stretch, the sciatic nervy sensation. And then back with those toes, heels pushing away from you. And then let's just take those legs apart. So slowly pressing out through the heels, coming to that point where you go, oh yeah, I can feel those inner thigh muscles. And just rub those inner thighs. You can roll the ankles around a few times here as well. That feels good. Squeeze your toes, stretch your toes. Remember, we want nice, big, wide bases when we're standing up. So we need to get these feet to be nice and wide and active. Good, and then bending the knees down towards your armpits, baby pose. So feet up towards the ceiling, grabbing hold of your ankles or your shins, or maybe even fingers hooking onto the inside of your feet if you can reach that. Try not to hook yourself up so your head's off the ground though, and your bottom is pulling off your bolster. Try to keep pushing your pelvis back and keep pushing your shoulders into the ground. A few more breaths here. Another great down training, relaxing pose for the inner thigh muscles, pelvic floor muscles. Good. And then we're just going to switch things on a bit more. So feet are up, toes are back, so feet are nice and active, knees above your hips. Take the hands on the outside of your knees. And I like to take my fingertips on the outside of the knees. So it's like I've got an egg in my hand kind of thing. So you're pushing your fingertips into the outside of your thighs, just above your knees. Shoulders stay on the ground. Now start to press outwards with your knees and inwards with your fingers. So we switch on these outer thigh muscles here. And I'm going to get you to do that little blowing out through your straw. And as you blow out through your straw, see if you can feel a lifting up sort of through the vagina towards the cervix, that kind of sensation. And you might feel tummy button coming down towards your spine slightly. So pressing outwards, so we're working on the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis here. Good. Now take your hands into fists with your, like that, with your fingers, your fingernails facing each other. So the back of your fists on the inside of your knees. And then shoulders come back again because they want to inch up towards your ears. So pull your shoulders back. Start to push inwards with your knees and outwards with the back of your hands. So you'll feel it in your arms. But also we want to do that blowing out through the straw. Just keeping that pelvic floor lifting as we increase the pressure through our core muscles. And we're switching on those inner thigh muscles now. But of course, because we're on an inversion here, we're slightly lifted, we are making sure that pressure doesn't go through the pelvic floor. We've got a bit more activation through the pelvic floor as well. So now hands just above the knees, roll your ankles again if you're feeling a little bit fatigued through those feet. Pull those toes back. Hands just above the knees on the thighs. Now this is stronger, so activate first, exhaling, pelvic floor lifting up. See, it's like you're stopping yourself farting and weeing at the same time, zipping right up towards tummy button. As you start to increase the pressure, hands on knees, start to push the thighs in towards your hands. Keep blowing out through that imaginary straw. We're doing this isolated contraction. Good. Knees in towards your chest for a moment. Roll those ankles around. And let's just take that bolster or your pillows, whatever you've got, place it underneath your feet like so. Feet nice and wide, so not close together, nice and wide as your mat. Arms out to the side. Drop the knees over to one side first of all. So both knees over to one side and try and press the top knee down into your prop. So we're stretching right across from the hip down towards the knee. I'm getting a bit of a massage through the tummy and into the lower back here. And then up and over to the other side. So you're pressing your top knee down into your prop, turning the head to the other side. smooth breath. So we let everything just be nice and relaxed now. And this is just a gentle, a subtle waking up of the spine. Good, and then you can kick that bolster away so we can wake up our butt muscles, our bum muscles. Take the feet directly underneath your knees. Now, we want to push the floor away with our heels. So as you push the floor away with your heels, let your bottom peel up off the ground, right up through towards your shoulders, and then peel back down again. And let your bottom just relax and your pelvic floor muscles relax. And then push down again. See if you can exhale as you come up and inhale to soften and expand. So go back to that 360 expansion on the inhale, exhale, everything's drawing in and up. Inhaling, relax, exhaling, switching on. Pause here, just pat your bum, make sure your bottom muscles, your gluteal muscles are switched on. Now heel toe your feet towards each other. Yeah, so we're either staying here, and you might want to rise up onto your toes and down again. If it doesn't feel good through your pelvis, I want you to stay here. If it feels a bit odd through your sacrum or through the front of your pelvis, stay in this symmetrical movement and just roll down when you need to relax and come back up again. If it feels okay to do so, put all your weight through your right heel. So you're working on that right glute. Stick your left foot out in front of you. Push out through the heel, toes towards you. So we're really working hard. We're waking up this bottom muscle. Breathe out to do so. And then take your foot up towards the ceiling. Roll that ankle around again. One direction and then the other. Keep breathing out. Now take that foot back. Pause for a moment and then place that foot down on the ground. Transferring all the way into the left heel. Stick the right foot out in front of you. Pause here. Tap the bottom. Make sure it's switching on. Slowly take it up towards the ceiling. Roll that ankle around one direction and then the other. And then take the foot back, down on the ground, and slowly releasing ourselves down onto the ground again. And just give yourself a little moment with your knees together, your feet out, and we get a little bit more space here through the lower back. So what we want to do is make sure our bottom muscles are switched on. They're actually activating and they're doing their job. And you might have found then that one side worked harder than the other side, or one side you really couldn't feel it switching on at all, and the other side you could a little bit. So that's quite normal. What we want to do is just make sure that we carry on activating, especially into the weaker side, so we can start to, over time, just get a bit more balance. So we're going to have our feet a little bit wider now, knees apart. We push the floor away as we exhale. We peel the bottom up off the ground, then we squeeze our knees and our thighs together. 1, 2, 3. Release your knees, roll back down, release your bum, release your pelvic floor. So push the floor away, coming up, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze your knees, release, and slowly come down, relax. Push the floor away, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze your knees, release, slowly come down and relax. So you're exhaling as you come up. Now we're working, sucking right up, deep into the pelvic bowl here. Knees apart and rolling back down. One more, pushing the floor away, coming up, squeeze, 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 release your knees, roll back down. Take your knees in towards your chest and big circles with those knees. So we're massaging into the lower back, but also getting that lovely kind of stirring sensation of those thighs into those pelvic cups, the hip joints there. One direction and then the other. Good, and then slide those feet away. Stretch your whole body so you're like a sausage. Hang on, my bolster's in the way, so let's get that out of the way. Stretch your whole body. Now we're going to try and use tummy muscles to flip us over onto our tummies. So we squeeze tummy muscles into its spine and kind of roll yourself like a baby does onto its tummy. And if you did that successfully, see if you can roll yourself back again and then roll the other way onto your belly and then slide yourself back onto your mat like so. Alrighty. Taking the hands just underneath the shoulders right away from your ears, tops of the feet on the ground. As we inhale, we inflate the lungs and let the chest rise up. And then as we exhale, we're deflating down. Close the eyes and see if you can just really feel into the breath activating this movement and all the tiny little muscles, the multifidi muscles around the spine, kind of vacuum packing into the spine, squeezing inwards in order to activate your back and lift you up. So we can just push through our hands and pop up like so, but I don't want you to do that. I want you to have your hands very light on the ground, almost not touching the ground. And instead, it's the breath which is activating those tiny little core muscles, which is lifting you up. And this is really important for our posture, to get the upper back muscles nice and strong. So they hold our shoulders back, they hold our arms in place, so our shoulders don't kind of roll forward. So movement up and down. Good. See if you can take your arms out to the side, stretching fingertips out, back of the hands towards the ceiling. And as you breathe in, lift your chest, squeeze your shoulders. Imagine you've got that orange between your shoulders and you're squeezing it, and then release back down again. So we breathe in, we squeeze the orange, and then we release back down again. If that feels okay for your back, try taking your toes off the ground as well. So we squeeze that orange, toes are off the ground, and then come back down again. So we breathe in, we inflate, we fly, and relax. We breathe in, we inflate, we fly, 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 and relax. One more. This time roll your shoulders back, fingers towards your toes. Breathing in, flying, Shalabhasana. Toes back, fingers back, crown of the head rocketing forward. And then relax. Now just switching on bum muscles again. Take your foot up towards the ceiling, one foot. Squeeze that glute. So take the other hand so your forehead is supported and your chin is tucked in and the back of your head is nice and long. Now squeeze that buttock so much that your knee comes slightly off the ground. So you just isolate the bum again, knee comes off the ground. Now do little pulses here where you're just squeezing the bum and you're not kind of flopping your leg all over the place. We're just squeezing that bottom, that gluteal muscle, and knee stays just off the ground. We're just pulsing, pushing the heel up towards the ceiling. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then slide your knee out to the side, like you're doing tree pose. Knees out to the side, toes are in towards your thigh. And then see if you can slide your pelvis, your pubic bone, down onto the ground. So we're stretching into the inner thigh area, right into the groin. You'll feel it right here into the hip area. Good, and then see if you can kick out to the side as well. So your heel is pushing out, your toes are coming up towards you, and the stretch is now going right up into the inner thigh area, right into the bottom, right into that glute, like so. Good, and then sliding that foot back and taking it onto the other side. So you might take your hand back just to pat that bum. This bottom, this glute is about to activate. So flexing feet, squeeze the glute, little pulses upwards. Now you probably need to bring your tummy button towards your spine just to keep your corsicary muscles active, and that helps to not crunch into your lower back here. So we're working the glutes, not the front of your legs. Just notice whether the front of your thighs, your quads, want to take over here. So we were isolating just the bum. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Then knee out to the side, like so. So we're in a figure of 4. If I stand, I'll just show you what we're looking at. We're like that. Pubic bone forward to stretch right across the groin here. And then slowly take that leg out to the side. So we're getting a really lengthened stretch. If I was to stand up, we'd be doing this. So as we press the pubic bone forward, we get a really big stretch right around the leg. Good. And then sliding those feet back, toes in, heels out for crocodile pose. So toes and heels out like that. Lots of space across the lower back into the sacrum here. Nice and loose in this area. But we're switching off our bum now. We're switching off our inner thighs. Just focus on the front of your pelvic floor muscles. So the urethra, around the urethra, we are squeezing in, we're lifting up, and then relaxing down. So what we're wanting to do is, as we squeeze and lift, we'll feel our tummy muscles also coming slightly off the ground. but keep your bum nice and relaxed. Relaxing down. Exhaling, squeezing in and lift, relaxing down. So it's like you're stopping yourself weeing, and then you're lifting that pipe upwards and relaxing it down. And as you relax it down, imagine the pipe is flaring out, really stretching, relaxing before you squeeze in and lift, and then doing so. So this is working on the sphincter muscles and then deeper up into towards the actual bladder. And even if you're not experiencing any kind of leaking yet, when you hit the perimenopausal years and beyond, the muscle fibers around here, we lose from about 35 onwards, we lose about 2% of the muscle fibers, the striatal muscles every year. So it's just really important that you know how to do this in order to actively strengthen everything around those sphincter muscles. So squeezing, lifting, and releasing. Squeezing, lifting, and then releasing. Just let your pelvis rock from side to side, like so. Hands underneath the shoulders. Press yourself back into an extended child pose. Knees apart, toes together. Lengthening right from your armpits all the way to your wrists. Fingers on the ground, wrists are off the ground. Get that nice stretch through the back of your body. Breathe underneath your armpits to feel that breath coming into the intercostal muscles between your ribs here. Wonderful. Coming onto hands and knees, you might want to take your hands around for a moment, stretch the back of your wrists, pouring at your mat. Good. And then lifting your tail behind you, shoulders right away from ears, lifting your tail and then tucking your tail. So lift the tail behind you and then tuck your tail underneath. And then breathe in to lift, and then breathe out to tuck. So if you had a tail like a dog, your tail would be right up in the sky, happy, happy dog, and then tucking right under, very, very sad dog. And I want you now to feel that ripple from your tail through the rest of your spine. So as you lift your tail, you ripple all the way up. You might lift your head. And as you tuck your tail, you ripple all the way forward. You might want to take the shoulders up towards the ceiling, tummy back into spine. So cat and cow, but we are mobilizing from the tail, which is the source of our core muscles. The pelvic floor is, of course, part of the core. It's not disassociated with the core. And then we have our deep transverse abdominal muscles, those multifidi muscles in the back that we were just working on, and the diaphragm, the breathing diaphragm. So mobilizing here. Now tuck your toes. As you take your tail up, pause, and then exhale, lift your tail all the way up towards the ceiling, stretch your spine, roll your shoulders away from your ears. You might want to stand your toes here, keeping the knees bent so you get that real extension through the spine, and then pressing the heels down one at a time. Start to wake up those calf muscles. Whee! Want to tight. So when your calves are tight, when your Achilles are tight, when your hamstrings are tight, they tend to pull the pelvis under. So a really important part of our wellbeing program is just to keep the back of the legs nice and lengthened. So have a little dance across your feet, stretching out through those toes as well, massaging across the feet. Now lift your tail. Imagine someone's behind you. They've got your tail, they're pulling it back and up. Breathe deeply in, and then as you exhale, down onto knees and taking the right foot forward into a lunge. So taking the top of the foot into the ground like so. Now we'll do a little bit on quads. Pubic bone forward, tailbone under, and then releasing. Pubic bone forward, tailbone under, and then releasing. And then again, pubic bone forward, tailbone under. Now drop your knee down towards the ground. If that's uncomfortable, just take your pillow and place it underneath your knee. So we are tucked here, and we're stretching quite strongly into these quads. Good. So holding that position. Now take the hand up towards the ceiling. I'll turn so you can see me. Take the hand up towards the ceiling, shoulders away from ears, drop the base of the shoulder blade downwards, and keep pressing down through your knee as you slide your fingers up and then slightly over. So we want to take that stretch all the way up the side of the body. Ah, good, feels so good to stretch. Now leave your head here, see if you keep tucking, and then take the hand down beside you, stretch out through those fingers, breathing into the neck. Very good. Releasing, let the pelvis go back into neutral. Inch your toes forward. Take the back of the foot and press it into the ground. So turn around again. Press it into the ground. And then rib cage comes away from pelvis as you come into a lunge. Shoulders away from ears. Breathe in to take the rib cage away from the pelvis, stretching. And then exhale to soften. Breathing in to go deeper into the lunge and then softening. Good. Now from here, take your left hand, take it down onto the inside of your foot, opening up. So we're into an extension right through those fingers, opening the chest to the side. Press your elbow back into the inside of your knee so we get a deep stretch into those inner thigh muscles. Like so. Beautiful. And then take that back hand, swish it forward, lifting all the way up. Now see if you can hook the elbow onto the outside of the knee and take your hands together. If that's not comfortable for you, hand on the outside of the knee and other hand on the sacrum. So keep it a little bit higher. Now see if you can draw the base of the rib cage slightly in, so we're not kind of flaring too much. We still have this integrity through our core. Shoulders towards each other. If you're very balanced here, you might want to tuck your back toes and press out through the heel, just to make it that little bit harder on your balance, a little bit stronger, pushing elbow into knee, knee into elbow. Smooth breath. Hands framing that front foot, step yourself back into downward facing dog. Take your feet together, shoulders rolling away from your ears, press all the weight into that left foot, stick your right foot out behind you. So deep stretch into that left calf. Shoulders rolling away from ears. Give your right foot a bit of a roll here. Now we're either staying here or foot to bottom, lift the knee and look underneath the armpit. So we're stretching down to those inner thighs as well. Good. Take that foot back. See if you do that on the other side. So drop the foot, pressing down through the heel, stick your foot behind you. If this is too much on shoulders, drop down to knees, take a break and come back up again. So we're stretching into the calf strongly, maybe taking foot to bottom, maybe taking knee up towards the ceiling, hip up towards the ceiling, looking underneath armpit. For some people, this feels horrible on their hips, so just working with what feels good for you tonight. Beautiful. Slowly coming down, back onto your knees. And other foot forward, coming into that proposal position on the other side. So pubic bone forward, tailbone under, release. Pubic bone forward, tailbone under, release. And again, coming into that pivot and then pausing, push the knee into the ground, hand on the outside of the knee, stretching up through, well, my left fingers this time, might be your right fingers, up and over. So we create that wonderful stretch and we get this fascial stretch. So it's really hydrating the whole of the body, stretching here. Leave the head where it is. Take the fingers out to the side. Just get that nice elongation through the neck here. You might want to move the head a little bit. If you've got a special tightness in the shoulder, just move into the neck. Just move the head slightly. And then coming back. Let the pelvis come into that neutral spine again. So we're not, neutral position again. And then inching the front toes forward until you feel the stretch into your quads, the front of your thigh. Push the back of your foot into the ground and then start to lift those hands, thumbs back, little fingers forward. Deep opening through the front line of the body, deep opening into the pelvis, literally the opposite of sitting. Push the front heel into the ground so you're nice and stable here. Nice and stable just above the knee into the thighs. Good. And then start to come into your open twist, so hand comes down towards the ground. And then opening the chest, squeeze those shoulders together. If fingers don't easily come towards the ground, you can use your brick or your book, whatever you've got, just place it down on the ground so that it's a bit easier to reach. Take the top hand, swirl it down beside you, stretch it up towards the ceiling. You pull your femurs, your thigh bones, back into the pelvis at this point, and then either hook the elbow onto the outside of the knee, hands together, or stand that little bit higher like so. So whichever version you're coming into, start to press elbow into knee, knee into elbow, so we get that real squeeze, or here, push hand, So we get that real squeeze, contraction through the outer thigh muscles. And then possibly taking the toes under and pressing the heel out to come into that full runner's twist. Stretching those quads. Keep breathing. So we're looking for that elongated ocean-like breath. Fantastic. Coming down again, knees together. Let's just release those hips. One hip down to the side. Exhale into the center. Other hip drops to the side. So I want to release that band. Up and over to release. Up and over. And then taking the hips all the way around in a big circle. So it's as if we have a pencil from our tummy button and we're just drawing circles onto the ground. Big, big circles. Now drape your hips right over to the sides and let your shoulders be relaxed and let your elbows be relaxed. Lovely big circles. One direction and then the other. This is such a nice way to relieve lower back pain. If you've been sitting a lot, the hips tend to lock up, and this is just a great way to release them. Good. Let's just switch on core one more time. So take yourself back into your extended child. Hands are out in front of you. So this is what we want to do if we're coming to a plank or anything where we're putting extra intra-abdominal pressure down on the pelvic floor. We're now going to be doing exactly what we did with our bottom on the bolster, exhaling to draw pelvic floor muscles in and up, but we're coming forward with movement as we do it. So as we exhale, we gather the pelvic floor, we draw ourselves forward, pausing here, shoulders just on top of wrists, tummy switched on, so everything's sucking inwards, pelvic floor sucking upwards, back muscles activated as well, quite strong through the arms. Drop back. Breathe in, breathing out. Rocking forward, pausing here, and slowly come back again. So we're going to come forward, pause, and then elbows in, little tricep dip, and then exhale to come back up again, and then drop down, inhale, relax. So we're exhaling forward, pause, inhale to drop down, doesn't matter how far, exhale to come back up again, pelvic floor is lifted the whole time, inhale, relax the pelvic floor, relax those bum muscles. Exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. Exhaling forward, core switching on, inhaling, drop, exhaling, all the way up and down to release. One more of those. Exhaling, pause, all the way up on that exhale, come back down again. Stretching those underside of your arms, fingers on the ground again. Roll those shoulders away from your ears. Fantastic. Such a good stretch on the spine. And then slowly coming up, I'm just going to get you to walk your hands back towards your feet, toes out to the side, dropping down into malasana. So your squatting position, you're like a frog. So we want to have our sitting bones lifted behind us. And if you can, hook elbows onto the inside of your knees, palms together. If that's a bit low, just come up higher and take the back of your hands onto the inside of your knees. So we're stretching those inner thigh muscles again, a little bit like frog pose on our backs. Lift your heart, keep your sitting bones lifted, your spine is long. Now we're pushing the heels into the ground, just like when we're on our backs and doing bridge. So we exhale, we push the heels into the ground, we slowly, slowly, slowly come up, and then relax your pelvic floor. Good. So come down again into your squat. And then we're going up and we're going to go ha. So breathing out, and it's going to be quite a strong breath out. Ha. And you push the heels into the ground. So toes are light, heels are doing all the work. Ha. Up. Ha. Ha. Breathing out as you come up. Ha. Good. Ha. Behind stays behind you. Ha. Two more. Ha. And ha. Good. Take those shoulders down, give your arms a bit of a flap around, and let's do some squats. So take your feet so they're parallel this time. So regular squats as opposed to wider squats. Feet are parallel, about hip width apart, toes facing forward. Push down and up with your feet so we get nice and active through the feet. Inner arches lifted, so we're not collapsing inwards. Make sure knees don't do funky things like so. We want to keep those knees on top of ankles. Arms out in front, and then pull the shoulders back. Squeeze that orange between your shoulder blades. Slowly sink down into a zigzag shape. And as you do so, imagine your tail is being pulled behind you. Keep that awareness of the orange between your shoulders. Draw the base of the ribcage slightly in. Good. Pausing here. All the weight's in the heels, so the toes are quite light. They're on the ground, but they're quite light. Okay, so we exhale, we push the floor away, we come up, relax your pelvic floor. Dropping down. Push the floor away, relax your pelvic floor, come back down. Exhaling, relax pelvic floor, come down. Exhaling, relax pelvic floor, come down. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. Push the floor away, and again. And dropping. Good. And again. And exhaling. We're going to do these next ones slow, so pause. Slow, slow squeeze, bum in towards sitting bones up. Relax the pelvic floor, drop down. Push the floor away, slowly, 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 slowly. Relax the pelvic floor. Ooh. Down. Exhaling slowly, 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 slowly. And taking your hands down. Good, take your feet nice and wide. Soften those knees and just give yourself a big squish. And imagine you are pushing your hands through the water, releasing everything. Good, and then throwing the discus, stretching the whole body to throw that discus. Wonderful. And exhaling down, arms behind you, full rotation through those shoulders. Good, drop the head down, roll the head around, roll the shoulders around, unwinding, unwinding from the top and the other direction. Circling, circling, shoulders and head, unwinding. Beautiful. Then placing that head bang on top of your neck again and start to unwind through the hips. So hands on top of your hips, big circles. If it feels weird to come into circling of the pelvis, start slowly, people going forward, hips to the side, tail back, hip to the side, people going forward. So do it slowly first, going around the face of a clock. And then just make it a bit smoother, and a bit smoother, and a bit smoother until you're doing this, and it's quite a big movement. And we're looking to keep all of these muscles around the pelvis nice and lengthened as well as strengthened. One direction and then the other. Beautiful. Take your arms out to the sides, thumbs up, little fingers down. Draw the middle fingers back so you squeeze that orange between your shoulders. Beautiful. So we're getting that activation through the upper back still. Just getting the heart rate up slightly. Very good. Drop down. Take a deep breath in. Arms up and then exhaling, going down. Take a deep breath in and then down. Beautiful. We're going to take the outside of our feet into the mat, toes slightly in. So we are coming into an angel stance. Take the arms out to the side, shoulders are nice and relaxed, nice and wide with those feet. Turning out through the left foot and then just sink yourself down into warrior two. So knee is on top of ankle. And this is where you might slide a blanket underneath the front of your foot if you have got foot issues. So just be mindful you don't put too much pressure down through the front of your foot. So we're relaxing the shoulders. Your drishti, your eye gaze, is out through the middle fingers of your stretched out front hand. And you want to push down through the little toe edge of your back foot as well. So you have this incredible connection. As you press your foot down, you feel this line of energy coming up through the back of your leg. And torso sitting down in the middle of your leg. So we're not here, we're here. So you let your eye gaze become soft. The little muscles around your eyes are all soft. You go back to your big ocean-like breath. So we're creating that lovely sound to the breath. And sending the prana, the life force, around the body. And then turn the palm of the front hand. And as you inhale, push the floor away with the front heel, coming into archer. And then as you exhale, forearm on thigh, back arm up and over, shoulder away from ear. Open the chest slightly. Push the floor away, breathing in and then breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Pausing here in side angle. Turn the chest. You might want to slide fingers down towards the ground if that feels okay on your legs. opening the chest here. Now, if this feels all right, take the hand behind you, grab hold of your t-shirt, or inch your fingertips around to your thigh, maybe even to the front of the thigh here, and that'll help you open the chest even more. Now, the pressure is firmly through the heel. This thigh bone is being squeezed by your muscles of your thigh. We're not sinking, sinking, sinking. Instead, we're staying quite contained. Good, just revolving around. Wonderful. And then unraveling, pushing the floor away. Hop your back foot in slightly. Slide the hand up onto your shin, or maybe onto your thigh. And then stack your top shoulder on top of your bottom shoulder again. So now we're in triangle, both legs are straight, and top arm up towards the ceiling. So both legs are straight, hand just lands wherever it can, back toes in, front toes forward, and we're looking for a wonderful twist through that mid-back. A really nice twist. Now for women, we need to make sure we're not cranking that hip backwards. That just puts pressure on the sacroiliac joint. So instead, keep that hip kind of rolling slightly forward. I always like to imagine it's a train wheel, and it's just going until you find a point where it's really comfortable and most of the action is coming through your back. And just give your head a little bit of movement here. And looking down the ground, bending to that front knee, sliding yourself up, turning toes in and to the other side. A bit wider on the feet to start off with. Dropping into warrior two. Soft shoulders. Turn the palm of the front hand. Good. So we stay here for a moment where we're just getting into the breath, a rhythm of that ocean-like breath. And then as we breathe in, we come up. And as we exhale, we fold forward, side angle pose. So push the heel into the ground to come up. So you really let those legs work, not the knees, but the bum muscles and the hamstrings. And then coming down. Good. Turn the chest to the side again. So we'll come into that slightly extended version of side angle, Parsvakonasana. The little toe edge and the fingers are in one long line here. And then if you want to come into the slightly deeper version of the pose, we might come into a bind here, or maybe even a full bind, fingertips together and shoulders rolling back. So working with wherever you are in your practice, different variations, and this is really good as well. So we're constantly pulling that femur, the front femur, back slightly into the pelvis, so we're not just going everywhere. We're working with the length, but also the strength in these muscles and bones. And then slowly lengthening that front leg. Hop your back foot in a bit. So close the gap between the legs. And then let the back hip roll forward slightly as you stack your shoulders. And then lengthening up for triangle pose. Ah, one of my favorites. That's it. Shoulders dropping down towards a nice heavy top arm. It just kind of weights down through the chest and into that bottom arm. Smooth breath. And looking down towards the ground, bending into that front knee like so, and then slowly pushing yourself up. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Now, if you know how to get into your good alignment straight away, then I want you to come into Tadasana and just spend a couple of moments breathing there. If you don't, take yourself against the wall. In fact, everybody take themselves against the wall. You've got your wall there. Do this because it's such good practice just to keep nailing in the good posture work. So we want to have our heels about an inch or two away from the wall. Our feet are hip width apart. We spread our toes. We love nice, big, fat, hobbit-like feet in yoga. So soften the knees, so you're not locking the knees. Soften the knees. Press down and out with your feet. And then stick your bum back into the wall. So we want to feel as if our tail is being pulled behind us. We stick our tail into the wall. Squash that orange between your shoulders into the wall, and then just roll one shoulder and then the other shoulder. Take the back of your hands into the wall and your forearms, and then draw the base of the rib cage, those floating ribs, back towards the wall as well. Which feels weird and it makes your pelvis want to pop forward. Don't let it. Keep pressing back through your bottom. Now take the ridge at the back of your head into the wall, and then slide it slightly up the wall. So you give yourself a good double chin. Now press down and out with your feet, soften the knees, back with your bum, so the front of your pelvis is nice and there's a dip here. It's not straight down, there's a little dip. Press back with your arms, Squeeze that orange between your shoulders. So push back to where the bra strap is. Push that towards the wall. Press back and up with the ridge of your head. And just spend a moment pushing everything back, down and up, back, down and up, back, down and up. And then come away from the wall. Roll those shoulders. Drop your head. Roll the head. Oh, that feels good. Okay, so this is where we need our bricks. So grab your brick or your books. Now, if you have got feet that are not happy at the moment, I want you to use the wall and have a wider base if you can. If you are looking to challenge your balance tonight, see if you can do it without the wall. So first of all, take your right foot onto your brick. We want to have the heel on the height. It doesn't matter about the toes. So the toes can drop off. The heel is going to push into the brick. So we need that on the brick. And we're working again on the stabilizing muscles of the pelvis here. So come back into your Tadasana, which is the mountain pose. So where we've just come off the wall, we feel stacked. That's how I want you to come into now. Back of the head, ridge of the head is lifting. Crown of the head is lifting. Base of the rib cage drawing in. So this is all switched on here. Shoulders are nice and even. And then flex both toes so your pelvis is even here. Then drop the foot that's not on the brick down towards the ground. Yeah, so the pelvis is like a seesaw, it's dipped here. And then we're going to push the heel into the brick to lift the other hip and then drop it again. So you push the heel into the brick, and that is the action that lifts the other side of your pelvis upwards. So it's like a seesaw, we're pushing down to lift and then releasing. So keep going with that. It's so easy for us, especially just to lift the hip like that, and this is not doing any work. But then if we do a balance, that's when our hips drop out to the side, because we just don't have the strength there for these muscles to hold the pelvis in place. So this is a good one. Take the arms out to the side to help your balance. Just to, or you might want to do this so you can actually feel the hip working. It's just hard on your balance. Pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. And to be honest, from the outside, it doesn't really look any different whether I'm pushing the heel down or if I'm just lifting my hip. So you will know the difference. This will start to feel it really quite quickly. If you're doing it correctly, you'll feel all of this area squeezing, activating. Beautiful. Come off your brick. Do your Elvis twist. So from the hip joint here, give yourself a little Elvis twist so we get a nice massage through the midsection. Rocking and rolling like so, and then we'll do that on the other side. So taking the foot onto your brick like this, and make sure that you are nice and aligned through the torso, and then we're pushing the floor away as we lift, relaxing down, pushing the floor away, relaxing down, squeeze. So if this hip starts to drop out to the side, yeah, we know we've got a bit of work to do. So we want to try and keep this area squeezing in, and we're just pushing down with the heel, pushing down with the heel. Tummy muscles coming in and slightly upwards. Whee. Don't look at me because I've got no balance tonight. So squeezing, squeezing. Now that I've said that, it's got worse. Squeezing down, pushing down, pushing down. We're going to have to stop because I've lost it. Okay, come up there and give yourself a little Elvis twist to release that hip. Fantastic. Let's just see how our balance is now. So take your brick out of the way. All right, so we're going to start as if we're on tightrope. And foot issue people, Dora, stay like so. Okay, so stay like this. So one foot in front of the other. So why don't you guys put your right foot in front of the left foot. And then squeeze your thigh muscles slightly in, and pelvic floor draws in and up. So that's going to feel as if everything's lifting right through the crown of your head. Take the hands together, elbows high. Push your shoulder blades together as if you're squeezing that orange. Yeah, so you keep squeezing in and up. Now take your weight into the front foot. So the foot is nice and flared out. Take your other toes onto the ground, knee out to the side. And then see if you can slide the foot up just below the knee. And then maybe even grabbing ankle and placing the foot up higher. So we still have that drawing in and slight lift. Shoulders still drawing back. Keep pressing those hands together and press the foot into the thigh, thigh into foot. Smooth breath. Now see if you can take that energy from your foot all the way up through your torso, all the way up into your branch-like arms and out into fingertips. And stretch your fingertips out like so, shoulders away from ears. Maybe take the eye gaze up as well. So that's really challenging your balance. Wonderful for strengthening leg bones, hip joints. Smooth breath. Now, if you're here, take the arms out to the side, tummy button in and up, knee comes into the center, and then stick your foot out towards me. So work those quads. Good. Crown of the head is lifting. Push the floor away, and then slowly come down. Just give your standing leg a little release, like so. And we'll take that onto the other side. So left foot forward, right foot back. So first of all, we draw inwards and upwards, thigh muscles squeezing slightly towards the midsection, hands like so, shoulders drawing together, elbows high. And then take your weight forward, toes on the ground, knee out to the side. Keep that knee that you're standing on a little bit soft. And then maybe coming here, or maybe even grabbing ankle and taking the foot up towards your thigh. And if you're here, you need to push, foot into thigh, thigh into foot, push your hands together. And this is as if we're receiving energy from roots that are deep down in the earth. So feel like you're pulling everything up through your trunk-like leg and torso, up through branches, up and out with those branch-like hands. Good. Maybe even taking the eye gaze up as well. Going back into that smooth breath. So the breath is anchoring you. Wonderful. And then tummy button to spine, arms out to the side. Pause here. Stick your foot out. Crown of the head is lengthening, foot is pushing down, and then releasing. And just giving yourself that Elvis release. Very good. Okay, so take yourselves towards the front of your mat. I'm going to get you to maybe use your prop again here. So I'm going to give you some alternatives. So we're going to come into pigeon pose just for a short while, but I'll give you an alternative if that's not suiting you. So hands on hip flexors. Stick your bum behind you, fold yourself forward. So stretch into those gluteal muscles. Hold on to your elbows for a moment and let yourself hang into a forward fold. Give your head a shake. Beautiful. If it feels okay for your shoulders, roll them back, interlace the hands and take the arms up and overhead. So it feels as if you are a waterfall pouring down towards the ground. And if it's fine for your lower back, push the heels into the ground and just straighten the legs a little bit more. So we stretch a bit more into those hamstrings. Good. And then releasing down. That's the way. So what we're wanting to do is walk ourselves back into downward facing dog for a final stretch out through calves and hamstrings. So take some long exhalations here, focusing on an exhalation and pause at the end of the exhalation. Time to wind down now. Shoulders rolling away from ears, pressing down and out with your hands. Beautiful. Looking up between your hands. Now I'm going to get you to slide your right foot up towards your left hand. Now, full pigeon, so half pigeon, is coming into the pose where the back foot slides away from you. And it's kind of in the middle of the mat. And your front foot is over towards the opposite hand, and your knee is dropping towards the same hand here. So this is the fuller version, and we just fold ourselves down. What we can do is use our prop and slide the bottom so just a bit higher, and then we don't have the same pressure on the foot. So we can just be a little bit higher here. We still get a lovely stretch into the thigh, right into the groin, but we're just a little bit higher using the prop right underneath the bottom. If both versions are a bit too icky on your hips or your foot, try coming into a zigzag shape like this instead, and then slightly leaning forward. You'll get a similar stretch into the groin and into the hip and into those gluteal muscles. So version like so, zigzag, or with your prop like this. Yeah, so we're lifted. Or if you're on the ground, you probably will still need a folded blanket or a brick or just something underneath your bottom just to keep the pelvis even at the back so you're not kind of leaning over to one side. So we'll stay here for a few breaths, sliding downwards towards the ground, maybe on forearms, maybe stacking fists to let the forehead drop down. You might even be able to come all the way down with forehead towards the ground. So just finding a position which feels like it's a decent stretch on those big muscle groups, which can handle this bigger stretch. And again, focusing on the exhalation. And now we're starting to really unwind. So I want you to imagine that you are kind of melting these muscles down into the ground, almost like melted wax. You're just starting to soften using that exhale, the long exhale that tells the mind and the body that it is safe to relax. It is safe to just let go. And I'm going to get you to do a Brahmacharya breath here. So that's a buzzy bee breath out. So we breathe in and we just make it like a buzzy bee sound on the way out. So take a nice deep breath in. Good. Get the hands just underneath the shoulders, drawing yourself up. Now, either coming back into downward facing dog for a moment to come to the other side, or if you're used to doing your pigeon, you might just flip over to the other side. So this just is a bit easier to come into pigeon from here. We take the other foot behind us and then we fold the foot up towards the opposite hand, knee towards the same side hand, slide the foot back. Most often need to prop underneath the hip here just to keep the pelvis nice and even. Or if you're doing a version on your prop, just take it right underneath your bottom. So this is a nice restorative version of the pose. And of course we can do the zigzag as well. So taking a version that suits you and then just seeing if you can sink down, soften and sink, soften and sink. And a buzzy bee breath out, breathing in. Sending that vibration right down into the pelvis, right around the deep stretch in the glutes and in the hip. So let's do one more. Beautiful. And taking the hands just under the shoulders and just drawing yourself up. So I'm spending the next 5 minutes with your legs up the wall in Viparita Karani, and maybe a bolster underneath your pelvis to give you that lovely lift where all the organs just pour away from your pelvic floor. Or use your bolster or your pillows underneath your knees and just lie yourself down. If you're coming into this position, give yourself a little twist first. So just release your spine. So feet on the bolster, one side and then the other. And then let your knees just flop out to the side. So we get a little bit of a release now through those psoas muscles when the knees are propped. And palms up. Let's move your head from side to side. And then let your head settle into the middle. Good. And once you've found a really comfortable position to be in, I want you to take 3 changing breaths. So we want to inhale through the nostrils and then just sigh the breath out through the mouth. And do that another 2 times. Breathing in through the nostrils, sighing the breath out. And just letting all those little muscles around your eyes again soften, making the eyeballs become very heavy in the sockets. And just feeling that softness, that relaxation rippling out so the forehead becomes more relaxed. And the frowning between the eyebrows softens. Start to feel the cheeks becoming more relaxed. Wonderful. And then I want you to take your attention just to the very top of your head, crown of your head. And then just beyond the crown of your head. So about a foot or so above the crown of your head to where we have the 8th chakra. And almost like a vortex here, a circling sensation. Start to draw that energy down through the very crown of your head, massaging at the very crown. So it feels as if all the skull bones start to soften now. And then you can feel that sense of relaxation, that softening, dropping down through the brain. So it feels as if the brain is starting to soften away from the skull. And you can imagine that everything is just closing down. The mind is softening and taking a step back. With each exhalation, it's almost like an onion layer has been peeled off. So you drop deeper and deeper, breath by breath, into that softening, brain softening away from the skull, face softening, neck softening, both the front and the back of the neck, relaxing down, chest broadening, all the muscles, the pectoral muscles softening, shoulders relaxing, feeling the upper back just spreading into the ground now, heavy and supported, all those multifida muscles totally supported. They can let go of your spine. They don't need to do any work now. Allow them to soften, drape down towards the earth, feeling that sense of relaxation, rolling down the torso and the arms at the same time, down through forearms and wrists, and pulling relaxation into your hands, palms, feeling that vibration of energy, back of the hands and fingertips alive with sensation, and feeling that wonderful sense of letting go, rolling through the belly and the pelvis, feeling that relaxation flowing down through organs, pelvic floor, around the big muscles supporting the hip joints, down through thighs and knees, and calves softening, ankles softening, flowing relaxation down through the soles of your feet and the tops of your feet, pulling down into toes, feeling every one of your toes relax, from the crown of your head down to your toes, the whole body now, whole body just receiving that gift of conscious relaxation, conscious letting go. So taking the attention just underneath the skin surface, the whole of your body. And starting to tune into the rise and the fall of your belly as you breathe. Natural breath now, breath just automatically being pulled into your lungs and pushed out of your lungs. Responding rise and fall of the belly. And see if you can notice any rippling movement of the breath through the body. So you can notice that pulse, the prana, that energy. Every breath, there's always movement. There's always some subtle movement somewhere in the body. Tuning into that energetic body. The cells of your body consolidating and integrating your practice now. Your body being breathed. And with this attention on this instrument of life, this cloak that you are wearing through this lifetime, the trillions and trillions of cells that make up this body of yours, the condensed energy. Start to bring your awareness to every cell and mentally saying to this body of yours, thank you, thank you, thank you. With a sense of awe and real gratitude. Just thinking about what this body of yours has done for you in this lifetime. And all the things that you will be able to do in the future. These extraordinary hands, these feet that take you places, this womb that has given you babies, this very clever brain, this heart that keeps beating, and these lungs that keep on breathing, even without your conscious awareness. They keep on pulling the breath in and pressing the breath out. From the moment you're born until the moment you die. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And whilst keeping this awareness of the whole of this miraculous physicality of yours, take your attention to the very tip of your nostrils. So you become very aware of the exchange of air between the outside world and your inside world. You feel the coolness of each breath coming in and the warmth of each breath leaving the body. And start to exaggerate your inhalations. Start to focus on the energizing, invigorating quality of your inhalations. Taking full, deep breaths in and spreading the breath right down into the bottom of your lungs, into the back of the lungs, into the sides of the lungs. And then stretching the breath out through arms and legs into fingers and toes. And just give fingers and toes a little wriggle. Move the head very gently from side to side. And keeping a sense of fluidity to your body. Being very aware of the water content of your body. Taking yourself over to the side. And when you're ready, just pushing the floor away with your hands and drawing yourself upwards to sit in a position where your sitting bones are on the ground or on a pillow. The pubic bone is dropping slightly forward. Your spine is stacking up out through of your pelvis, right up. And you feel the crown of your head is lifting. And your head is perfectly positioned on top of your neck. So there's no holding. It just feels absolutely like you've hit the sweet spot. Shoulders are relaxed. Jaw relaxed. Eye muscles relaxed. We're just going to take the hands into the heart center with the thumb towards the chest and finish the practice with 3 ohms. And if you don't want to ohm, just listening to the vibration of the ohms and just feeling that vibration moving through the body. If you are participating, pull your breath in right up through the spine, through the crown of the head. And as you ohm, send that low vibration down like a waterfall through your body and into the ground. So breathe in together. Just noticing how those long, low vibrational exhalations make your mind feel, make your body feel. Just acknowledging yourself for coming and practicing tonight. Thank you so much, ladies. Namaste.